Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Tactical Truth series here on Unsafe Space. As I said when I introduced this series, my goal is to help you learn how to defend yourself and your loved ones as intelligently, effectively, and safely as possible. And I'm happy to announce today that I've found the right expert to help us with this goal. His name is Rhett Neumayer. He's an armed defense training instructor and the founder of Demonstrated Concepts. Rhett will be hosting our Tactical Truth series from here on out, and he will discuss, I think, roughly on a monthly basis, everything from basic pistol safety to situational awareness to preparedness, de-escalation, all that kind of stuff, home defense. So I wanted to take a moment to introduce you to Rhett so you could learn a little bit more about him. So with that said, Rhett, welcome to Unsafe Space.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm all right. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Let's maybe we should start by just letting people know a little bit about your background and how you became an expert here.
Okay, so I'm Rhett Neumayer. I own Demonstrated Concepts. That is a company that I started in 2012 specifically for firearms training. I started that company after working some contract security. Really, a lot of it is like glorified babysitter and like bouncing work, but some of that, well, a lot of that in an armed position. And the folks I was working for had some training standards. They were really low. So I was looking into why those training standards were the way they were, found out that they were essentially mirroring the Colorado post standards, which are the shooting qualifications for police in Colorado. And going into the weeds there, kind of seeing what were the standards were, where they were based, and why they did that. It bothered me that standards were so low, and it bothered me that me entering that at the time as a novice shooter, I was able to outperform a lot of these guys who were, well, senior on the job. And so that got me into training. That got me into looking for who does this the best. What I found there was that for tactical shooting and for defense shooting, all of the skill sets were the most polished in the competition realm. So if I looked at any famous tactical instructor, all of their stuff was basically just gaming that they had applied to their craft. So I took that, structured my company for training for essentially anyone who is carrying a gun all the time, professionally or not. At that time, I also started competing a lot. So IDPA and USPSA, for my foundation, for my skills foundation, I lean heavily on stuff that I have learned through those sports because it seems to be the stuff that works the best. And I've been training folks to shoot better, handle guns safer, and other defense stuff since then. That's kind of a high level view there.
Now, you're not I know that you work with Craig Douglas sometimes, and it's not limited just to firearms, though. You do a lot of work, at least with Craig, that involves either other weapons or no weapons.
Sure. There are a lot of skill sets that are necessary to have for defense that don't involve a gun at all. In fact, if you're planning on carrying a gun, I'll just say you ought to have several tools and several strategies that you can use to either stop or de-escalate or leave conflict or manage conflict before you get to that tool. So yeah, I work with quite a few guys in the Colorado area training stuff around use of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and wrestling with other tools like pepper spray and knives, and then a lot of just these guys being able to manage someone without any tools at all is also an important thing.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I always found most effective about, or most practically applicable, or maybe I'll say most commonly needed of the skills that Craig Douglas has. I mean, I've only taken a little bit from him so far, but like of the things that I'm more likely to employ on an average day, it's the no tools, verbal de-escalation or mitigation tactics.
Right. So. Yeah, I've worked in some nastier places and had to use all of my tools. I should say this. I have had to draw my gun. I've gone through several cans of pepper spray, and I have been on the wrong side of a knife encounter, but those were really rare instances, and something that I use every day and used every day when I was doing that crappy work was verbal agility. Being able to talk your way out of trouble is so much more helpful and will get you so much further than a lot of these other skill sets where that it's a mandatory for training.
So can you just really quickly just tell me a little bit more about demonstrated concepts in terms of what they offer right now? Because I know the COVID thing and the ammo supply is moving you to do some online stuff, it seems like.
Sure. So yeah, the lockdowns really changed. It really changed how I approach people, because I know at the beginning there was no ammo shortage, but there was it was difficult to get people on the range, and I understand everyone wants to be safe. So I started to move a lot of my content to my website and do a lot of stuff on YouTube and Instagram, stuff like that. For classes, I offer a number of paid spot classes for on-range training, for live fire stuff, for dry fire stuff. So especially with the ammo crisis right now, I do a lot of low round count classes and a lot of dry fire focused classes where we are going to perfect the draw all day long, or other stuff that doesn't require you to hose a lot of ammo out there. I offer that, but a lot of what I do now is based around free classes for concealed carry. So I like to think of that as my way to contribute and to support the 2A community and keeping the Second Amendment around. So I do a lot of classes free in the Denver and Colorado Springs area, where folks who may not have enough money to spend the hundreds of dollars that it takes to go through the application process. I try and take the class portion out, and I offer that as a online class that you can find on the website, that if you want to certify for your concealed carry permit, you want to be able to apply the training certificate that I offer based off of that class plus a small classroom portion, that meets the criteria. So we can get as many people carrying and educated around gun safety as possible.
Cool. So let's just shift focus for a minute to the Tactical Truth series that you're going to be hosting. I think we have in our community, we've got people who have decades of military training and are massively switched on, and people who probably have never touched a gun and maybe are afraid of it, and everything in between. So I'm curious what you think, maybe the next few months, what are kind of the basic things that you think you should start out with and covering and talking to people in the next few months?
Sure. So I've got a short list of stuff that I think would be nice to have a conversation about. I will never pretend to know everything, and I think that the always a student mindset is one that, well, it cultivates greatness a lot more than knowing that your way is the best. So I'll never say that I have the way, but I would like to talk about some stuff like home defense as far as planning and tools. From there, I would like to go into talking about the common firearm stuff that folks want to know around that. So a home defense AR versus a shotgun versus a home defense pistol that maybe people are flexing into a concealed carry role as well. I think there's enough stuff out there to do an entire section on like daily carry tools and methods behind that. And then some other stuff, defense skill sets. So I'd like to talk about maybe like a big 3 or big 5 skill sets to hone that will best provide for your defense outside the home. And going from there, we can go into the weeds and break down just typical stuff that you're looking at for criminal assaults and victim selection. I think there's enough there to do an entire series there. So quite a few things that we can talk about.
Cool. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see this series myself, partly because I used to train quite a lot, but that was, I'm going to sound old, but it was over 10 years ago when I was really actively training. And, it was just recently that I realized a lot of the stuff that I learned from the Cooper era has changed, and there's more stuff, and there's been more knowledge. And so I feel super rusty and lost. So it'll be great to have someone keep me up to speed. What do you, just personally, what is your favorite platform to shoot from? What do you enjoy the most?
I will say that I have really enjoyed dorking around with the niche shotgun platforms that are out there over this last year.
Like what? I don't even know what you're talking about. What niche shotgun platforms?
So the Mossberg Shockwave, I think, is the most known of those platforms, but essentially they are all of the firearms that are 12 gauge or 20 gauge. I say firearms in the view of the ATF. They're not regulated as short barreled shotguns, but they are short barrels and they shoot shotgun shells. So, right. It's
I appreciate the distinction.
Right. I will often refer to them as shotguns, as will other people. I also know that the way that they're classified by the ATF is for a reason. So there's no stock on these guns. If I were to put a stock on those guns, they would immediately become NFA items and would have to be registered as short-barreled shotguns. But all of the guns, the ones that I like to run, are either proper shotguns because they meet length requirements, or they're these firearms that have a bird's head grip. And that's it is not the upright pistol grip. It is the angled grip that you'll see on these guns. So I got into playing with those because people were asking, are these at all applicable to defense? And my initial answer was, no, those are terrible. So in playing with those, I've actually found that now I can run them with every bit of speed and precision that I can run a stock shotgun from. And it's one of those things where I entered something thinking that I knew that these were going to be terrible. And well, I've actually I've actually changed my mind there. I've grown to love them. I don't recommend them for everyone. I think that if you are on the far end of the spectrum, like the nerdy guy who likes to train a lot, who will put in the time to shoot, that they actually work really well, and they can work better than some of the longer shotguns in some environments where you're constrained by space and other stuff. So
cool. Now I'm intrigued, and I need to go. I need to go look up and play with those. Cool. Well, Rhett, look, where can just remind people where they can find you online other than here, which they'll be able to see. I think roughly once a month, rough time frame we're thinking for the Tactical Truth series. So where else can they find you if they want to learn more or take some of your classes or whatever?
Sure. So you can go to demonstratedconcepts.com and click on the schedule link, and all of the scheduled classes that I have are there. Click around the website. I like to give away as much stuff as possible. So my favorite targets are there for download. You can download those for free and print them off, as well as a lot of training videos. I try and do at least a weekly like, hey, have you considered this type of thing around concealed carry or shooting, sport shooting. And that's on my Instagram or Facebook stuff. Less and less now because, well, I'm sure you know. But that is...
Because you want to keep your account.
Right. That is DCON, DCON_training. The Instagram, it's weird. It seems like that is all gun stuff. We'll see where that goes.
Cool. Well, look, Rhett, I really appreciate you doing this series. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for agreeing to come on and do this. And I know everyone else is looking forward to it as well. So appreciate your time, buddy. And when the lockdowns are over, I'm gonna come to Colorado and make you teach me how to play with those non-shotgun shotguns. So
excellent. I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
All right. Take care.